Little Tornado by Pat R. Steiner. Chapter 1. Merry-Go-Round. Current temperature, 93 degrees Fahrenheit. Barometric pressure, 30.31 inches steady. I was spinning the twins on the play area's merry-go-round when nosy Mrs. Carmichael from 3 trailers over showed with her idiot son Todd in tow. Watermagic stirred inside me. A rumbling storm cloud, I resisted the urge to do something unnice to Todd, say, cause a sudden localized rain shower inside the peeping Tom's shorts. Hurricane Joe wouldn't have held back, but I wasn't him. Nope, not cool. Never would be. "Mornin', Lily Ann," Mrs. Carmichael said. Her Texas drawl sounded foreign in this Wisconsin Northwoods hideaway. "Looks like another scorcher." A fuzzy wave of soap smell and pineapple-scented suntan oil oozed from her sun-drenched skin, while her long blonde hair, still damp from the shower, clung to her back like an albino anaconda. I nodded at her obvious statement, grating my teeth at the same time. Mama said I needed to learn to control my temper, not let people get under my skin, that I shouldn't let Hurricane Joe's blood influence me so. Too bad Mrs. Carmichael was a giant chigger in human disguise. First adjusting her white velour tube top to keep her not-so-little ladies from popping out into the bright sunshine, Mrs. Carmichael urged the down-faced Todd forward with a not very motherly shove in the back, then smiled at me with a predator's leer. Todd stumbled to a stop beside me. He still had the temporary tattoo on his scrawny upper arm from last week's big bicentennial 4th of July celebration. Stank like he hadn't bathed since then, too. Teenage boys, I thought. Old enough to drive, but didn't know the complex workings of a shower knob. It was hard to believe he and I were the same age. "Hey, Lily," Todd mumbled. He picked at the eagle's flaky wingtips. "Oh, hello, Peep. Didn't see you there." I smirked when his freckled cheeks flushed. Mrs. Carmichael, meanwhile, having exorcised the crumpled cigarette pack from the front pocket of her frayed cutoffs, lit up what I assumed was her day's first smoke. Or second. Or third. I stole a glance from her thighs down to her Jesus sandals, then back up. Her long, tan legs reminded me of a deer's. Not that I was jealous or anything. If anyone was jealous, it was Mrs. Carmichael. Jealous of Mama. Taking a long drag, Mrs. Carmichael squinted at the faded blue skies over the pines who poked their tired, pollen-dusted heads above the county preserve's lands that skirted the play area. Among the trees, one of their striped brethren stood out, a telephone pole. Mounted at its top was the emergency warning system, a horn-shaped machine used to warn residents of tornadoes or other disasters, natural or otherwise. The end of the world? The coming of the Antichrist? Nuclear holocaust? Her moment of inspection completed, Mrs. Carmichael exhaled a blue haze that quickly dissolved from around her face. "Hot as the hinges of hell." She flicked ash from the cigarette end, unaware or unconcerned about forest fires. Mrs. Carmichael and Smokey the Bear were obviously not on speaking terms. "Y'all think it'll ever rain, hun?" she asked. I didn't have to look to know it wouldn't any time soon. Rain. And that's the way I planned to have it stay. Mama liked her summer sunny and sweltering, and I wasn't about to let her down a second time. Loon Lake Resort and Trailer Park hadn't felt a drop of precipitation since the night we crawled into the lodge's flooded parking lot back in May within Hurricane Joe's borrowed station wagon, the car choking on its last fumes and the twins passed out in the wagon's back amid our thrown-together belongings. Mama had made me drive. She didn't like driving in the rain under normal circumstances, but with her puffed-up eye all but hidden, a late-night customer of Joe's famous left jab, she didn't want to risk our lives in her shaking hands. I could still feel my own hands clenching the steering wheel in a death grip, while the station wagon's busted wiper blades scraped hopelessly at the pounding rain. Squeeze, squeeze, Squeak! Make it go faster, Lily! The twins' joined voices brought me back to reality. I'd gone into a daze while I stared at the merry-go-round's hypnotic movement. Dizzy, I staggered back a step. I was lucky I didn't fall forward. With my recent track record, I probably would have knocked out my front teeth on the rusty steel handholds, and most likely gotten tetanus to boot. I got it, said Todd, taking over from me. In seconds, he had the twins spinning faster than ever. Candy and Dot's faces blurred so badly I had a hard time telling them apart. Their matching Loon Lake Resort t-shirts didn't help. A gift from Ron Reinhardt Dolman, manager non-extraordinaire of LL Resort and Dump, for being so cute. With their dusty feet peeking from beneath the hems, the twins' 5-year-old bodies looked ready to drown inside the extra-large shirts. In no time at all, both were squealing at the tops of their lungs. Toad! 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 Toad, what they called Todd. How's your mother doing? Mrs. Carmichael asked. I crossed my arms in preparation for battle. Oh, she's fine. The dizziness had passed, but my stomach still churned. The oatmeal I'd eaten for breakfast changed into a quicksand that was sucking me under from the inside out. I blamed the heat. Suddenly, I didn't want a confrontation. Forget Mrs. Mind Your Own Business. I would take the twins to the lake. Elbowing Todd out of the way, I reached to slow down the merry-go-round. Candy, Dot, come on, we're splitting. The handhold slapped my palms with repeated ball-peen hammer blows. Oh, Lily, Candy said, we don't want to go. Push us, Toad, Dot quickly added. Make it go supersonic. Todd leaned toward the merry-go-round, but I shot him a stare that froze him inside his smelly sneakers. On the way over, Mrs. Carmichael continued, I thought I saw Ronnie Dahlman slip into your place. She raised the cigarette near to her face, but didn't inhale. A clawing hand reached up through the emptying quicksand and clamped down on my insides. I winced from the pain in my gut, as well as Mrs. Carmichael's barb. The stupid merry-go-round was getting on my nerves, too. He probably came for the rent. The rent? Ah, I see. Y'all fall a tad short this month? No, I blurted. That was a lie. Just that morning, Mama had been cussing to herself while I fed the twins, the stack of crinkled dollar bills in her hand as thin as a slice of Wonder Bread. Mama waited tables part-time at the lodge, but the pay sucked. Vacationers around Loon Lake weren't known as big tippers. The drought hadn't helped business either. Who wanted to vacation at a dried-up lake? She'd been earning a little extra cash giving perms and manicures to the park queens, as well as to the ever-rotating mothers from the rental cabins. Afterwards, she read their futures, but that was always free. Mama joked one shouldn't profit from the fortunes of others. Don't sweat it, hon. Mrs. Carmichael squinted at me through the smoke. Oldest story on earth. Before she could inhale, and before I could stop it, I used Watermagic to gather the moisture from her damp hair and snuff out the disgusting cigarette. At the same time, I grabbed one of the whizzing-by handholds. Momentum took me off my feet in a big hop, but when they landed, I rooted my toes into the sand and managed to wrestle the merry-go-round to a stop without snapping my spine in two. Off! I ordered the head-bobbing twins. We're going for a swim, and that's that. For once, they didn't complain. Taking hold of each other's hands, they marched unsteadily to the edge and jumped to the ground beside me. Go on, I instructed. I'll catch up to you in a minute. They waved dejectedly at Todd, who waved back at them, and headed toward the lake without another word. I watched them for a moment. Walking hand in hand, their small bodies and the two large shirts looked more like kites, floating inches above the dead grass, drawn toward the beckoning waters of Loon Lake. When I glanced back, Todd was glaring at his mom. Mrs. Carmichael, as usual, oblivious to the feelings of others, and it looked like this included her son, was more interested in the extinguished cigarette. Holding it between her hands, she brought it to her face, examined it, and then sniffed. Her upper lip twitched. Eyes widening, she wrung the cigarette as if it were a wash rag fresh from the cleaning bucket. Water droplets dripped from its twisty body before it broke apart. As if the pieces had given her an electric shock, Mrs. Carmichael dropped the cigarette remains and jumped back a step. Wiping her hands across her shorts, she searched me out and then Todd. Her wide-open mouth showed confusion and even a bit of fear. To make matters even more pleasant, my stomach cramps had shrunk to a dull ache. My lips stretched into a grin. "Y'all might want to close your mouth, Mrs. C," I said in a mocking tone. "Gonna draw flies." Mrs. Carmichael's teeth clicked together, and any momentary fear vanished from her features. Instead, a cold fire flared in her eyes. She pointed a manicured finger, one Mama had done last Wednesday along with the other 9, at Todd. "Ta, home!" Before he could comply, she stormed off, taking a different path than the twins. Todd had visibly shrunk under his mother's gaze, but now he turned to me. "Sorry, Lil." His look of concern was almost moving. I crossed my arms over my chest. "What?" "Your nose," Todd said. He wiped a finger under his own. "It's bleeding." Chapter 2, Loon Lake, 25 degrees Fahrenheit, 30.31 inches steady. Loon Lake was a gooey scab on the kneecap of the leg that was the Attisokanak flowage. Wedged between state preserve lands and the Indian reservation, the lake, including the resort and trailer park, which squatted along its southern shoreline, was the only privately owned land for miles, Sawyerville being the nearest town to the south. On the night of our impromptu exodus, I begged Mama to let me stop at a motel on the northern outskirts of Sawyerville, but she'd calmly instructed me to keep going, telling me where to turn from landmarks I could barely detect in the station wagon's headlights through the rain-drenched darkness. At the time, I figured she'd seen our destination in the cards, read her own fortune for once. Later, I wasn't so sure. If she saw her future that fateful day, why had she let Hurricane Joe do to her what he did? A gulping splash broke the lake surface off to my right, not a dozen feet from where I lay stretched out on a flat boulder. The boulder, which jutted into the lake, was the perfect perch to watch the twins play in the sandy shallows among the reeds and catch a suntan. I'd purposefully chosen this out-of-the-way cove to avoid people, mostly the transient hordes from the cabins who crowded the resort's beach area, weekly renters on vacation up north, many tribes of sunburned moms with snot-nosed kids in tow, though the dads could be bothersome too, staring at me while they pulled the tabs off their beer cans, nodding their heads and grinning as if they sent some secret message only I could decipher. Round a bend in the lake and out of sight and sound of the beach, I thought I had been successful in my quest. So at first I thought the splasher must be a bullfrog or a jumping fish. But when the waves calmed, the top of a rock the size of a football stuck out from the water. Self-conscious, I scrambled to my feet, grabbed the t-shirt I'd taken off, and quickly slipped it over my head and bikini top. Nearby, the twins were busy using sticks to poke at something in a stand of cattails. Behind me, the lower branches waved on the gnarled cedar tree that connected my boulder to the shore. I held my breath. Just beyond was the narrow animal trail I'd led the twins along to reach this spot. The branches swayed some more before Todd pushed his way through, blundering onto the boulder.
"Oh, hey, Lily. Thought I saw you guys."
I let out my breath in a long hiss. There was no way he'd just happened to see us. He'd been following us. Probably had been since the merry-go-round incident. Not cool. Crossing my arms over my chest, I said, "Thought Mommy wanted you at home." How long had he been out on the path watching before he decided to chuck the stone? My throat flushed. "Better hurry, Peep. Mommy's waiting. Don't want to make her mad."
"Stop it, Lily. I'm sick of y'all picking on me.
Todd walked by me to the boulder edge and, uninvited, plopped down onto his rear end. My lower jaw dropped while my hands automatically went to my hips. And I'm sick and tired of you spying on me and my mom. He glanced over his shoulder. That again? 2 evenings ago, I'd spotted Todd hanging outside our trailer. Mama, finished with her shift, was just getting out of the shower. She liked to dry off naturally. Air dry, she called it. Her nudity didn't bother me, but Todd certainly didn't deserve a free show. Yes, I said, that again. You're lucky Mama didn't call the sheriff, you freak. He was lucky I hadn't done more at the time than make him slip in that mud puddle which mysteriously sprang up beneath his feet.
Watch who you're calling a freak, Lillian.
He hopped off the boulder and turned to face me. The lake water barely reached his bony shins.
I seen what you done.
A chill ran down my spine, turning my blood to ice. Was he talking about the puddle? Did he know about water magic? I haven't a clue as to what you're speaking of.
Sure you do. That trick you pulled on my Sig.
A trick. He thought it was fake. Water magic, some sleight of hand illusion. I didn't enlighten him. Yeah, well, that's different. Let him remain the idiot I knew he was. Besides, that's not illegal. Trespassing is. So is looking into a person's trailer to see them naked. Not cool. I mean, geesh, Todd, my mom's as old as yours. He stared at me as if I was crazy, which at the moment I wasn't sure I was. Why was I arguing with Todd Carmichael? Why was I even talking to him? And had I actually just called him by his real name?
I didn't even look, he said. I came by to ask. I couldn't. I wasn't looking for your ma, Lily.
Then who? The twins? You a bigger freak than I suspected? You like little girls, Todd, huh? You like them young? The pain in Todd's face was terrible. He looked like a kicked family pet. I almost felt sorry for him. Too bad water magic didn't know compassion. She had blossomed inside me. A torrent of magic, bottled up, looking for a crack to slip through. The water round Todd's legs started to swirl in a slow circle, hungrily lapping at his flesh. He glanced down surprised and then looked back at me scared. Lily? Suddenly, I saw what would happen. It was as if I was Mama seeing Todd's immediate future, the vision as clear as the blue sky above, the water rising round Todd until it enveloped his entire body and drowned him. A terrible cramp racked my gut. I fell to my knees. Water magic wanted Todd. I couldn't let that happen. Get out of here, Toad Carmichael. Take your stupid face and split. Do you hear me? I hate you. Leave before something bad happens. Calling him Toad reminded me of the twins. I hope I hadn't startled them too badly with my angered shouts. When I looked where I'd last seen them, only cattail heads waved in a breeze. Chapter 3, Hide and Seek, 98 degrees Fahrenheit, 30.31 inches, steady. The cattails kept trying to trip me up, yet each time they did, water magic retaliated, freezing the water-saturated canes, causing them to explode like muffled firecrackers. This quickly formed a cool ground fog that followed Todd and me in our pursuit. Overhead, the sky was a brilliant blue, the sun a white diamond surrounded by a nimbus. After my latest near-fall episode, Todd sloshed back to me. His gaze darted downward.
You're bleeding.
I paused. What?
Your knees, they're beat up pretty good.
I recalled falling to the boulder. Water magic always took her blood sacrifice. Doesn't matter. I slapped at a pesky deer fly.
Just saying, You'll have to get them cleaned after we find Candy and Dot." He raised his head and shouted the twins' name for what had to be the 100th time. A red-winged blackbird replied, announcing his anger at our invasion of his territory, but not a peep from the twins. "Why won't they answer us?" When I shrugged, he didn't look satisfied. "Well, too bad, Toad. They're my sisters, not yours. And who asked you to help anyways?" I thought all these things but held my tongue. Mama would have been proud under other circumstances. As I feared, I'd scared Candy and Dot, badly enough that they'd run off and hidden. I knew they wouldn't reply to our calls. It was the night of the hasty exit all over again. Back then, Mama finally found them hidden in the cupboard under the camper's tiny sink. Yet this time I'd played the role of Hurricane Joe. Not cool. I'd traumatized my kid sisters. Just wait till Mama found out. But she wouldn't have to know. Not if I could find them and convince them I'd been joking. "Maybe we should go get your ma," Todd suggested, as if he'd a touch of his own magic and had read my mind. "They might come out for her." "No," I said. "Not cool. Bad idea. Keep looking. They can't have gotten far." "Dang it, Lily. For all we know, they could be a few feet from us right now and we wouldn't see them, what with this freaky fog." Of course, Todd was right, but I would never tell him that. I also didn't want to admit I was starting to panic. I took another failed swipe at the deer fly. "Well then, what do you suggest, old wise one?" When he hunched down, I almost laughed. He looked like he was about to do his number 2 business, squatting among the cattails, the lake's water inches from his shorts. Maybe he did his deep thinking on the toilet. I bit my lower lip. "Whenever Ma goes on a bender," Todd said, "she brings home what she calls stray dogs. Guys she picks up from whatever tavern she's parked her butt inside for the night. Big-time losers, each and every one. But they bought Ma drinks, see? And she feels an obligation to them." He looked up at me. Tears rimmed his eyes. "Can you believe that shit?" He barked a laugh. "She thinks she owes them that for a couple free old-fashions." I glanced away embarrassed. What did this have to do with Candy and Dot? He cleared his throat before he continued. "Anyways, soon as I hear tires spitting gravel outside, followed by Ma's drunken laughter, I know it's time to skedaddle. I pop off my window screen and hightail it out of there. Usually I go down to the beach and sleep in the sand, if it's summer." I hadn't realized Todd and his mom were permanent fixtures at Loon Lake. "When it gets cold, I go to the lodge. Mr. Dahlman lets me sleep on a cot in the pantry. Smells like bacon in there, but it ain't too bad." It was pretty cool and all that Todd was sharing his terrible life with me, but I was impatient. The twins had been missing for a little over a half hour. Around us, the ground fog evaporated much like Mrs. Carmichael's cigarette smoke. Had Watermagic finally calmed within me? Had I used up my blood offering? When I looked back down, I saw that a thin scab covered both my knees. It was strange. To keep Mama's summer sunny for 2 straight months, I'd used Watermagic to basically repel water, weakening the magic's potential more and more with each precipitation-free day that passed. But now, Watermagic was doing what she did best, taking any surrounding water and manipulating it to her will, my will, acting out what she thought I wanted, whether I directed her to or not. I shook my head. None of this was helping. Todd's words or my wandering mind. "What's your point, Todd?" I asked. When he stood, I noticed he had a few inches on me. "What I'm trying to say, Lily Ann, is that even though I run away, I never go far, and I always come back, 'cause in the end, who else does a kid have? I mean, she's my mom." I glanced at the sun again. The play area's emergency tornado siren hadn't sounded its weekly Thursday test yet, but the time had to be close to 12. Mama would be heading to the lodge for her shift. The twins knew that too. Maybe Todd was right. They might have dodged round me and Todd and caught the path back to the resort a little further down the shoreline. If I ran, I could catch them before they reached Mama. Without thinking, I went up on my tiptoes and gave Todd a hug. "Good thinking, Todd." He flinched in my arms, most likely startled and afraid. Luckily, my senses returned before he could recover and hug me back. Pulling away, I surveyed the surroundings while he coughed and spluttered. The cattails towered over me, but I made out a giant aspen's flickering head. I knew this tree huddled on an outcrop before the sharp turn in the lake that led to the resort. I headed toward it, slogging through cattails, a regular Louis Joliet breaking trail. Behind me, Todd, in who I guessed would be his Father Marquette role, said, "I'll stay here and keep searching, just in case." I lifted a hand in acknowledgement to his continued niceness, but in my mind, I was already mulling over excuses to tell Mama, just in case she discovered the twins before I got my claws into them.